Welcome everyone to another tutorial video for the SomaWave Therapy app. This is the third video, the first one being the app overview, which hopefully you've had a chance to look at. And then the next video was the video on the manual mode. And we are now going to be covering the sweep mode. So let me zoom in here and get a closer look at the app. So with manual mode, we talked about the two variables, binaural beat, which hopefully you've had a chance to explore, and then the amplification level, particularly when it came down to really low frequencies. The lower the frequency goes, it might be helpful to turn up the amplification. You can get an interesting effect with higher volume or amplification when you get to these lower frequencies. And of course, a warning that when you start moving up to these higher frequencies, that you won't need the amplification up so high. So anyway, binaural beats and amplification we talked about being the variables for manual mode. For sweep mode, again, the variables will be the binaural beats or the level of volume or amplification. But speed will be a significant one here. How fast the sweep mode is playing through the frequencies. So let's jump right on in to what I have here is two examples, two memory slots dedicated to relaxation. The first one is a bit milder, gentler, softer, for more sensitivity. Taking a quick look, relaxation I have here 0.3 for the binaural beat. Amplification is pretty low at 1.2 or 120. And it's a pretty slow cycle, 5 minutes, 2.5 minutes up, 2.5 minutes down for a 5-minute cycle. If I load relaxation 2, probably a little more energy. A 3-minute cycle, so it's a little bit faster. 1.5 minutes up and 1.5 minutes down for a 3-minute cycle. Still 0.3 on the binaural beats, but amplification is bumped now up to 1.4 or 140. And I didn't mention this on the relaxation 1, but we have a wider frequency range, 27 to 45. And again, the generalization being that the higher frequencies, more energy, lower frequencies, more relaxing. So relaxation 2 I have set at 45. I've done 40, 45, 50, even 55. But right now I have it set for 45. Relaxation 1 is 35, so 27 to 35. And a quick note here on the low end, 27 seems to be where I like the low end to be. I kind of like the idea of the energy kind of fading almost into silence or into quietness. You could go down to 25 and it would sort of disappear as you get down a little bit lower. You could go down to 20 or lower and really have it disappear. So you just have to kind of check in with your client and see, do they like the idea of the rising and the falling, and do they like it to fall into nothingness and then rise back up. I had one client who didn't like that going so quietly because he felt like there's nothing going on. So apparently he did want a lot of vibration, and so I raised it maybe up to 30 so it didn't quite disappear. But in general, I do like that kind of rising and falling, kind of disappearing, and then kind of coming back up again. It's a very nice, gentle pendulum swing, if you will. So these are just two examples to quickly suggest or show you on the sweep. Movement between frequencies, how fast they move between the frequencies, and again, the variables that can affect your experience. Binaural beat is the pulsing. 0.3 is very kind of medium, middle of the road, gentle, relaxing. Amplification, a quick note on that. Something to take into consideration, the sensitivity of your client. I have one client with some anxiety issues, and when she comes in for a massage, there's days when she can handle vibration or volume. She came in the other day and she was extremely stressed, and I had to drop the volume as low as it would go, 1.0. When I had turned her over, that's the other element. When they're face down, stomach is the more vulnerable, sensitive side. I keep the volume down a little bit lower. When I turn my client over on their back, then I can boost the volume. I boosted 0.10 or 20, and so I was able to boost it for her a little bit. But everyone's going to be different. Another generalization from my experience, lighter framed, lighter weighted individuals don't need as much. The heavier individuals, you can increase the volume because of the sheer mass that absorbs the vibration, and generally they seem to like more volume or vibration. So that's at least from my experience. So those are just the two examples. If you have enough memory slots, you can dedicate your memory slots to some slight variations. Oftentimes just on the fly, I'll make some quick adjustments if I don't have enough memory slots. So it's pretty easy to quickly jump in, bump up the volume, speed things up, slow them down. You can change the frequencies. It all happens pretty quickly, but out of convenience, you can dedicate a memory slot to different settings. Also, the song or the track might be different. I have rain here on one and a massage track. I have the volume down because I just happened to turn it down. So that's the basic idea with the sweep. Gently moving from a low point to a high point. What I want to do now is to jump into some extremes, or maybe not extremes, but some real variations in the sweep mode. One of my current latest favorites, slow-mo. I call it slow-mo, slow motion. I really like this one. Let's take a look. The low frequency, low point is 27 to 33, so it's a really narrow range. It's slower, 5 minutes, 2.5 minutes up, 2.5 minutes down. And take a look here, binaural beats, 0.1. This is significant. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on here. Point 1 is ridiculously slow in terms of the wave that's happening between the speakers. I'm going to use my hands here to show. So that's the wave action. 0.1 is really slow. Turn the volume down here. Amplification I have bumped way up. This is a really deep feeling, very satisfying. Amplification at 1.6 is pretty strong. I like it. And again, check in with your client. I've gone higher than that, 1.7. Someone might want a little bit less. But the slow-mo is just this really slow action, moving slowly between these points. I'd make a note here with the 0.1. It's so slow that it may be lost on your client. You might need to bump it up to 0.2. It's still nice and slow. But faster than 0.1. So you have to experiment with 0.1, 0.2 to see if you can feel that wave. Again, the more sensitive the individual, focusing in on your body sensations, you can feel that slow wave. But for, say, a new client, someone new, they may not be able to be aware right off. They may just sense a pretty powerful volume that's, vibrating the table. And 0.1 may just be lost on them. So you might have to go to 0.2. Or you can demonstrate with them, show them what the binaural beats are. Start at 0.5. Wow, 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 wow. And then slow it down and show them what 0.4 is. Show them 0.3, 0.2, and then you can ask them where would they like it. Now the binaural beat is going to show up more obviously at the higher end. When you get down to 27, it's so low that even the wave is a little bit lost because the frequency is getting so low. So if you're showing off the variability of the binaural beats, you might have it up here on the high end. So that's slow-mo. Let's try another variation. This is playing with these variables to come up with a really different experience. Back scrub, it's kind of a fun one. Notice the frequency, 33 to 40. A little bit wider. And the big one here, notice 1 second cycle, so it's a half a second up and a half a second down. 0.3, when it's moving that fast, the binaural beats won't be such a factor, won't be kind of noticed. So amplification is at 150 or 1.50. Let's take a look here when you turn it on. Well, that's actually not the binaural beat, that's just the frequency. But this is just the idea of a sensation of something scrubbing your back. At least that's what I had fun calling it. So yeah, there you have it. That's a fun variation. You could increase the frequency range. You can get really crazy. Turn it all the way down to a low point. Get even more of a scrub factor. Play around with that. And let's see here. Per. And these are, of course, my very arbitrary creative notions or ideas of various settings, experiences. This reminded me of a cat's purr I was trying to simulate. 30 hertz to 33. It's a really narrow frequency range. 30 seconds. And let's see here, 0.3, amplification 1.5. See what this is doing. Turn the volume off. So yeah, this just reminded me of a cat's purr sitting in your lap. Kind of a thing. You could speed it up a little bit more if you want, 0.3, 0.4. Something like that. And again, play with the frequency range. If you don't want 30 to 33, you might go 35, 33, 35, 37. You might want a slightly different, faster action. I'm just playing around here now. But yeah, play around with the settings, fairly easy to do. That's the cat's purr. And one final variation. This is more of an extreme. Getting into the subsonic range. And kind of staying down there. What if we start at the very lowest point, 16 hertz, and come up to, say, 25? Let's start with that. Now, with that low frequency, I like to crank the volume. And for now, not worry about the binaural beat. Kind of want it to be nice and slow. 16 hertz is so low, and yet it's there. You can feel it. And you may find this to be a very deeply relaxing sensation. But play around with that. It's super mild. I could crank it a little bit more, but I kind of like that low, subtle, and it's slowly picking up as it approaches the higher ranges. So you could keep it really subtle and have it in a pretty narrow range, 16 to 20 hertz. Or you could bump it up to 25, 30. But this is on the low end of what I would normally be working at frequency-wise. So I'd call that the subsonic. I don't have any current memory slots dedicated to that, but that would be a fun one I'd like to experiment more with. So, have fun with that. I think that'll do it for now. That's kind of a quick dive into what possibilities can be with the sweep function. So yeah, have fun, explore those ideas, and I'll be back on the next video looking at the ramp mode, which is a lot of fun. So until then, enjoy, explore sound frequencies and all the variables, and we'll see you at the next video. Take care.